9th. These discussions help Automation Alley define our state's Industry 4.0 strategy, as well as help us prioritize technologies and, uh, and topics to focus on Industry 4.0 throughout the year. If you would like to be considered for a spot on a roundtable at Integrate, please let me know, and I will submit your name for consideration. And please don't forget to register for Integrate Conference at integrateconference.com. We will be doing a Q&A session at the end of today's presentation, so please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to ask questions. Thank you. I'd like to now welcome Steve Litz and Lori Litz.
Good morning and welcome to our presentation today, charging for commercial and fleet vehicles. As I mentioned, we're with Powerlink Systems. And Powerlink is been a member and participating with Automation Alley since 2016. In joining with them, they've also shown a lot of support for our company and other small companies that are involved with Automation Alley. For example, our company in 2018, we upgraded a charger that was installed originally back around 2012. It was considered a first generation charger, and we were able to upgrade to a new level 2 state-of-the-art charging system from ChargePoint. And so we're always grateful for the opportunity. That's just one of the ways that that Automation Alley does support their members, and we're grateful for that. The second opportunity we had with Automation Alley was last year in 2019. They invited us to do a membership minute video, and that gave us the opportunity to showcase our company to the business community here in Michigan. And we consider that quite an honor to be able to come here. And we were able to have that video on our website. So if you are interested to see how well they're produced and how good they can make your company look, please check us out. You can visit our website at www.powerlinksystems.com. I'd like to introduce Lori Litz. She's going to go ahead and spend a few minutes on some of the electric vehicles that are currently available in the market.
Thank you, Steve. Dad. The electric vehicle industry has changed greatly in the last, every year it changes. And this year, it's very exciting because there's some new opportunities for different vehicles out there. You can see Cadillac has the Cadillac Lyriq coming out shortly. One of my most favorite vehicles, the Jeep Wrangler, is going electric as well. Chrysler's actually making a big announcement this week about that. And Ford has the Mach-E coming out as well. One of the great things about one of the companies that we also partner with that we're distributed for ChargePoint is they've got a ton of resources out there. You may not be aware, but there's almost 50 electric vehicles or hybrid electric vehicles available on the market today. On the ChargePoint website, they've got what they call their EV showroom, where they showcase all of these vehicles. They give you the base price option there. They show you what the range is. So if you're searching for an electric vehicle, this is a great place to start because you can see them all in one place. You can go and take a look. Maybe you've got a specific manufacturer that you prefer. You can see what they have available. You can see the different ranges, the base price, all different options if you head off to ChargePoint and you look at their EV showroom out there.
I have a question. Are all of these vehicles available to buy here in Michigan?
No, they're not, but I'm going to turn that back over to Steve because he's got a great perspective on that.
Hi, Nick. Yes, so with these 50 vehicles that are currently showing up here, a lot of them were starting to be developed back in the 2011, 2012 timeframe. And some of the vehicles were actually considered compliance vehicles, which means some of the automobile manufacturers had to build certain type of hybrid or electric vehicles in order to sell them in marketplaces such as California, Portland, some of the East Coast states that also followed that trend of demanding zero electric vehicle or zero emission vehicles in their marketplace. So with that, some of the vehicles have come out. They've been prototypes. That technology has gone on to lead in the development of some of the new vehicles that you're going to be seeing. As Lori mentioned, Cadillac is bringing out the whole line of electric vehicles, starting with the Lyriq. Some of these vehicles are just going to be amazing. You'll be fascinated by the electronics that are on there, the safety features, and the capabilities they'll have. Ford, of course, took that next step and took their ever-loved Ford Mustang and used that as a vehicle to move that technology forward also in their vehicle lineup. So there's a lot of controversy with that vehicle, and there's a lot of excitement that is coming along with it too. And of course, Fiat Chrysler is going to start electrifying some of their Jeep products too. And a lot of people are excited about that opportunity. Some are kind of confused about how that's going to work. But the one thing the automobile manufacturers are finding is that they can take this drivetrain, which is either purely electric or plug-in hybrid electric, and put it onto any of the vehicles that they currently offer. So that way, when the consumer comes in to purchase a vehicle, you'll have the choice of what drivetrain system that you would like to have on your vehicle. Along with the automobile manufacturers, the state of Michigan has invested quite heavily in the advancement of connected and electric vehicles. You may be aware of the American Center for Mobility. That's a program that's out at Willow Run Airport. They've taken a portion of the land out there and created a test track where they could do all types of testing on vehicles that are sharing electronic signals, LiDAR. They're trying out some safety systems out there and autonomous driving. So that's a really exciting program. If you're not familiar with that, take a look on the website for American Center of Mobility, and you'll be quite amazed what they can do out there. Planet M is another program that was started a few years ago. It was one to develop the ecosystem here in Michigan. They're based out of Detroit, and of course, they're part of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And what they're doing is they're looking to do a couple things. Number one, they want to keep Michigan the state that leads in development of vehicles. We've always been the motor city, and that's a heritage that we're proud of. And so the state of Michigan is making large investments to bring more manufacturers and small companies that are developing this type of technology to the state of Michigan so that that technology is readily available to be used in the automotive sector. So that's really an exciting program. And just recently, within the last month or so, the Michigan Office of Future Mobility and Electrification has been added into that lineup. And again, it's another MEDC funded program. The desire for that program is to help advance the availability and the technology of electric vehicles to the general public so that they can see what kind of technology is developing in these vehicles and why they're so excited about them. So that office is going to do a number of things. It's looking at bringing, again, more manufacturers to the state and developing jobs and opportunities for the state to grow with the revenue. If you have an opportunity, check out the Michigan Office of Future Mobility and Electrification.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is Michigan the leader in EV manufacturing?
Not currently. There's a couple ways to look at the industry. Of course, we're all familiar with Tesla, and Tesla actually started as a company in 2003, and their first product came to market somewhere around 2010. It was the Tesla Roadster, and that vehicle gained a lot of interest and excitement for people that were looking for a fun electric vehicle to be able to drive. So Tesla made the move first, and they went all in. Our Michigan manufacturers, of course, have a wide variety of products that they service and support. And so the electric vehicle was going to be a product they wanted to develop over time and bring to market a little bit slower. So GM is rapidly becoming one of the largest international electric vehicle companies with their products both here in the United States and in China. So pretty soon we could see that change, but currently Tesla does lead the manufacturing in that industry. So we have 4 business models for you to consider if you're thinking of putting and adding EV charging to your business or property. Some of the reasons that you would want to consider doing this is, for example, if you put it in for workplace charging at your current business, some of the things that it's going to do is going to be able to promote employee productivity. If you're in the tech sector or going into that sector, a lot of your employees are going to be interested in this type of technology. They're going to want to own and drive electric vehicles. And by making that service available on your property for your employees, it helps promote that interest and drive your business forward in becoming a successful tech industry. If you're in the retail segment, it gives you an opportunity to get customers to come and spend more time with you. When they do hook up for a charging session, a lot of times they're staying for at least an hour. Sometimes when people go shop, they might pop in to your retail establishment and do a quick in and out. But when you give them a reason to stay a little bit longer, they actually have the opportunity to spend more time and spend more money at your retail location. Yes?
Quick question. How can you locate chargers that are available for public use?
That's a good question. So some of these brands that are currently out in the market, you'll find that what they're promoting is that they're a network charger. And networking does several things, but one of them is what exactly you're talking about. It gives the opportunity for that company to have an app that allows you to locate the charger, to see if that charger is currently in use or if it's available. If it's going to cost you, how much will it cost you to use that charger over that period of time? And also, as the manufacturer had by design, they also wanted the opportunity for you to be able to advertise with that charger, both on the internet and face-to-face with the consumer that's using it. So those 4 options are available there. Early on, before a couple of the companies like ChargePoint led the industry with their networking capabilities, there was a website called PlugShare, and it was kind of an organic website where people that were EV enthusiasts, as they drove around the country and they found chargers that were out in the public arena, they would go onto the website and put it on there as a location. And they would give descriptions to whether it was designed for public use, if it was restricted use, and if there was any cost for using it, that was included too. So the apps are a good way to go. And more recently, Google has included that in Google Maps. So now if you're Google mapping your destination and travels, you'll be able to see along the way where chargers are located. One of the important things that you want to be able to do, excuse me, is as we talked about, if you can locate the charger, it's very important to know if that charger is available to you. You don't want to drive out of your way and go somewhere only to find that you're blocked out by another consumer that's using that charger. So ChargePoint is given the opportunity for you to waitlist that charger. So as you're planning your travel, let's say if you're traveling throughout the region and you're going to be somewhere at 4 o'clock, and in that particular area, you know there's several chargers there. If it's a ChargePoint charger, you'll actually be able to go in and make a reservation for it. So it'll be waiting for you. The other consumer will have finished their session and move on, and it'll be locked out until you access it. That's a great feature to have. That'll save you a lot of time and frustration from using it. So the networking capability has made the charger smart, and ChargePoint has taken a lot of that information, and they've been able to follow our habits and find out what makes even a better user experience for their customers. So we talked about workplace charging, retail charging. There's 2 others that are really worth considering. Fleet charging is a very big area of growth right now. Originally, it was thought that smaller fleet vehicles, maybe those that service industries like Grubhub, DoorDash, even Uber and Lyft, some of the private drivers for Uber and Lyft would obviously be attracted to these vehicles because of the reduced cost of operating. But what really actually has taken off quickly is some of the commercial freight businesses. Since Tesla and a couple other manufacturers have introduced their semi trucks with battery driven capabilities on there, again, the cost saving is tremendous. It's gotten their attention, and they're actually moving into the fleet charging area quicker than the smaller vehicles. But this is a great picture and a great example of a lineup of fleet vehicles at a business ready to go. And pretty much with the range that most vehicles have, these vehicles can accommodate pretty much a full day of travel, of service, or whatever that they're performing with. And then the vehicles will come back at the end of the day and plug in and be charged up and ready to go the next morning.
Question.
Yes, sir.
What is the difference between a fleet charger and a commercial charger?
Oh, that's a great question. So fleet charging is designed to service just a company's set of fleet vehicles. So what you're doing is you're setting up a group of chargers that can only be accessed by the employees that are driving those fleet vehicles that you've given access to. And so when those vehicles come in and plug in, they're set up in series, and they do several things. They can do power sharing. That's where you can oversubscribe your electric panel and add even more chargers than what normally a one-on-one ratio might be for your system. And when a car comes back and plugs into the fleet chargers, the vehicle that needs the most charge will get more power sent to it. Those that still have, half range or 3/4 range battery left, they'll get less power sent to them because they can charge up at a slower pace. So that's what the fleet charger is. It's all designed to accommodate a large number of vehicles, to do smart charging, to be able to charge off peak. If you have peak rates with your utility that you want to avoid, you can set it up for a delayed charging. The commercial charging is really designed to be in public view and to be able to transact with the consumer. So you're going to, again, be able to locate that charger on your smart app. You're going to be able to pull up to that charger and do a tap and go. You can create an account on the app where you would put maybe $10 or $20 on there. And if it is going to cost a couple dollars to charge, it would transact right through the app for you. But also, too, it allows the host, is what we call the person that puts a charger in, it allows you to control access. So you have the opportunity of it during business hours to making that available strictly to your retail client. And then after hours, you can shift over to more workplace charging, so it can pick up some of the slack there too. So it's very versatile. Yes.
Question here. Do all utilities offer rebates for installing EV chargers?
Not all. Just in the last year here in Michigan, both DT Energy and Consumers Energy have both brought on a rebate program. Around the country, California has been very advanced in their utilities participating and encouraging the adoption of electric vehicles. So there's been some very good rebates out there. But throughout the rest of the country, they haven't really gotten on board yet because they haven't seen the importance of the electric vehicle. That's about to change. In 2020, it's going to be historically known for a lot of things that happened this year. But one of the things that's really big in the automotive industry is the commitment that the American manufacturers have made to developing electric vehicles. And this is really a pivot point for them. And we're excited about that because they're going to bring out a lot of vehicles that are going to be really fun to drive and fun to own too. The final location is we're looking at doing a lot of installation of chargers in the downtown arena. A lot of downtown areas of cities are kind of slow right now. They've been seeing a slow up in some of their retail customers. They're looking for any way to bring more clients to the downtown area and get them to stick around longer than just going to a theater or shopping or doing a quick dining stop. So by adding EV charging, you're again giving your customer or consumer a reason to stick around a little bit longer. So normally if they may have stopped in downtown and maybe ran into Starbucks and left 15 minutes later, again with them hooking up usually for an hour session, they're going to stick around a little bit longer. They have a little more reason to shop and find out what else is available in your downtown community. So it's a great opportunity to encourage the consumer to come on downtown and stay. So as I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of new vehicles over the last decades. It's been quiet, it's been slow. The adoption for electric vehicles they thought would be really consumer driven has really picked up quite a bit on the fleet side. So commercial vehicles are, we're leading the way for the use of electric vehicles. But now that we see what's going on with the technology, it builds a strong case for the consumer to want to consider owning an electric vehicle. So connected vehicles, which most cars are becoming, but even more so with electric, are making our highways safer to drive on. The vehicles are all communicating with each other, so there's a lot of crash avoidance technology built into these vehicles. And in turn, they're going to make our drive safer. They're going to help bring down accidental vehicle deaths, which is a big goal for the automobile manufacturer. Along with making our highways safer, you're going to drop your operating costs by at least 50%, if not more. We'll talk a little bit later about the cost of charging your vehicle at home, but the fact that the vehicle itself is no longer supporting an internal combustion engine, there's probably about a good 2,000 parts that are no longer going to be in that vehicle. So less parts means less maintenance. You can recharge is going to offer time savings and convenience. A lot of your EV owners are going to charge up at home. And that's going to be something that's going to really be amazing to them because you're no longer driving out of your path to go stop at a gas station to fuel up. You're now going to go right home. You're going to plug in. A lot of times it's a 10-second thing. You plug your car in, you go in the house and you forget about it. The rest can be programmed. If you want to enjoy off-peak charging too, you can set up your charger to start charging off-peak. Usually it's 11 o'clock or later at night. And by doing so, you're going to save yourself even more money at home.
So what would be the pros and cons to leasing a charger or owning it?
So with leasing and owning, we're going to get into that in just a couple minutes. I'm going to show you the financial program on here and what you can expect on cost. Workplace charging is an incentive to attract a more higher quality job candidate if you're transitioning to be a tech company. Commercial charging, again, in retail and hospitality locations will bring more consumers to that location. Again, encouraging to spend more time shopping, dining, and enjoying the entertainment in those venues. Communities are also realizing that this is a type of technology that they want to offer in their downtown areas and throughout their cities. They kind of pick up that a title of being a smart city. They're moving in those directions. Those type of cities that adapt over and add this into their community wind up becoming recognized as a more desirable community where they want to live. And so that's something too that they're using to help identify them and make themselves different than some of the other cities around them. The demand for electric vehicle charging is going to continue to grow, especially with the coming to market of all the new electric vehicles. As we talked about, all three automobile manufacturers have projected that they're going to have at least a dozen new electric vehicles coming to market between now and 2022. And during that time, you're going to see announcements on a regular basis of these new vehicles. Even the oil companies are adapting. They realize the threat to their business, and they have taken a look at it and said, you know what, this is a natural for us. Instead of being an oil company, we're now an energy company because we're going to address all the needs that it's going to take to power up a vehicle. So they're even adding charging systems currently into their fueling centers. And so it's going to be very interesting to see companies like Shell Oil or Shell Energy now, you're going to start seeing that. They've taken a very aggressive approach in Europe and they're working their way across the US. The great thing about electric vehicle charging is you can charge anywhere there's electricity. And so what you want to look for is an attractive place for people to want to come to. Instead of making it hidden away or behind a gate or a fence somewhere, you want to showcase that in the front of your property. So again, high visibility, the attractiveness to the consumer, they feel safe when they come there, and you give them some options to do things while they're doing their charging. DC fast charging, which we haven't talked a lot about just yet, is going to be very popular along high traveled routes. And the reason for that is now the state and the Department of Energy are looking at connecting the dots. If people want to get to Traverse City or to Mackinac Island, they need to be able to have fast charging along the way that will meet those needs. And so the utilities are currently working, DT Energy and Consumer Energy are both working right now with investors that want to put chargers in to find the best locations so they can be utilized by consumers at a high rate. Off-hour charging will lower costs for fleet. Again, charging systems where people visit and gather are going to be more desirable. And there's a potential opportunity to generate revenue for your company and profits. So the electric vehicle supply industry is actually focused on 4 areas of needed charging. And very simply, residential was identified as being the #1 place. But what we're seeing is that commercial and public charging is actually growing at a faster rate than residential. As people are active with their cars, they're finding where these chargers are. They make a point of stopping along their way. So they have a lot of options when you put that in. And again, like I said, you can bring new consumers to your property by offering it. Fleet charging is going to be very popular, and DC fast charging. So those 4 areas are the most important areas of charging right now. And those areas have all come down substantially in cost over the last couple of years. Here's some of the prices. I won't go over each one with you, but this will give you an idea of a starting point for the purchase of the chargers themselves. So some of the challenges of adding commercial charging to your property are, #1, you want to find a high visibility area on your property. So site selection is going to be very important. You're going to not want to hide it away, but again, you're going to want to showcase it so your customers or potential customers know where it's located. It's in a safe place where they feel comfortable in pulling up, plugging in and walking around for a few minutes. You want to locate your available power source to run those chargers. A lot of times that place is usually closer to the building. Most buildings house the power centrally, and so the closer the run of power to the location of the chargers, the less costly it is. Cellular connectivity is going to be very important because again, these chargers are networked. They're going to communicate with the software company that's going to manage them for you, and they need to be able to have a strong signal to communicate. There can be some areas like underground parking that can pose challenges. There are options to be able to put in devices that can boost that signal, but starting off, you want to look for an area that would have good cellular connection. The biggest cost of installation for the project can be the infrastructure. So anytime that you have to go underground, tear up concrete, run power out to a particular site, that's going to pick up the cost a little bit more. And that can be a challenge for you too. So if you're considering doing a project, here's who you'd want to consult with. EV Charging Specialty Company, and again, we put our company into that arena as Powerlink Systems. We're a certified reseller, distributor, and installer for ChargePoint. So we've had to go through a lot of training to help our consumer find the best charger for their project and to work out with them the details of how many chargers that they would need and also how to plan their growth in the future. Electrical contractor would be best used for, again, determining the location and your power run. They can advise you as far as what power you have available and if any additional power would need to be brought in. You want to talk with your utility. They do offer special rate plans. And so by consulting with your utility, they can give you advice as far as how much the cost would be added to your property. You can isolate those charges by separate metering this program. And then there's also going to be incentives available through the utility, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. There's also a tax incentive available too. So you want to bring your accountant into the conversation. They'll be able to help determine if you your company does qualify and benefit from these tax incentives. So at this point, I'm going to bring Lori up. She's going to talk to you about DTE's program. It's called Charging Forward. And Lori?
Thank you. So as Steve said, 2020 has been a very interesting year. It's probably a year we're always going to remember, and most of us would like to forget. However, there's been the opportunity to pivot and change the way that your business has been done. And a lot of people are adjusting their business plans and looking for new opportunities to bring people in. And last year, DTE announced their Charging Forward program. It's electric vehicle charging for businesses with some different incentives. So if you head out to DTE Energy's website, you can find this chart out there, and it will give you some different benefits of why your business should offer EV charging. So if it's your workplace, it's a new revenue stream potentially, or it's a employee benefit if you want to give your employees free charging while they're at your location. You're going to attract new talent. You're going to for your company, for employees, you're going to attract new customers. You're going to get a lot of different people that are very enthusiastic in the EV vehicle world. They've got their own rallies, their own car shows. They're very excited. They like to share a lot of information, and maybe they'll say, hey, we found this great charger in this little town over here or at this business over here. We went and charged there, and we got to explore the area, and we liked it a lot. So there's a lot of great different benefits in adding an electric vehicle charging station to your business. And here's just some of the reasons for you right there. Now, again, why 2020? Why this year should we make these changes? Well, again, we've had to adjust our business plans, but additionally, DTE is offering some great incentives. So if you wanted to install a level 2 charging station, they're going to give you $2,500 per port, and they're going to require a minimum of 2 ports per site. So that's $5,000 you can get back. They'll do a maximum of 20 port rebates at your location, but they've got to approve that site first. And there's going to be a ton of other little things that nuances that might apply to your location. So it's very important that you, like Steve just mentioned, check with your utility company ahead of time to make sure you're going to meet all those needs. But it is very easy to apply for the rebate, and it will give you, an 8-step charging forward business process. And if you go out to their website, it takes you through each step. It's very easy to fill that out. Now, they've also got rebates for the DC fast charger as well. You can get up to $50,000 per charger. Again, they're going to require two charger stations right there. So that's $100,000 you can get back on those for installing. And it goes towards the installation and the cost of the charger. So some great opportunities right there. So choosing the right type of charging to offer at your location, that's going to depend on your individual business and what you're looking to do. Level 2 EV chargers, 1 hour of charging gives about 30 miles. So you've got that to look at, where 1 hour of DC fast charging can give you about 150 to 210 additional miles. So it depends on what you're supporting. As Steve talked about earlier, if you're along a highway route, you might want to put in a DC fast charger. Even though it's more expensive, you're probably going to attract more people right from there. A downtown, a level 2 EV charger, because maybe they're going to put 2 hours into there and they're going to go walk around town and they're going to do some shopping and they're going to eat at your location. And multi-unit dwellings, we haven't talked much about apartments or townhouses or some sort of community living, but there's another opportunity right there as well. And you just have to evaluate what's best for your business at that point. In addition to the opportunities that we presented there from DTE, and again, consumers has some as well, or whatever your utility company is, you can check with them to see what rebates they offer. There is a federal tax incentive for this as well. So you can get a 30% tax credit up to $30,000. That's in addition to the rebates But this is where your accountant comes into play to help, that's going to help you with your taxes right from there. So some great opportunities that expire at the end of this year. So that's why while you're making your business plans and readjusting, this is something to consider because of all the incentives you'll get. Yes, Nick?
Yes, I was just wondering, can any business qualify for the federal tax credit?
You want to take that? Hand it back over to Steve.
Hi, Nick. So we're not accountants, but from our understanding of a tax credit, it's one of those things where if you have untaxed income in your business, and this type of incentive could allow you to shelter some of that. And that's why, again, you would like to consult with your accountant to see if that's a category that you fit into. So again, a little more technical on there, but it even makes the opportunity a lot sweeter just to have this opportunity to take up to $30,000 off that cost for you. All right, and we wanted to talk about one more option. I think you brought it up earlier about leasing. And so ChargePoint has taken a look at all the cost of putting in a charging system, and they're trying to drop the barriers for any concern that you might have. And we know a lot of times putting in a project like this is a capital expenditure. And so you've got a plan, and it has to go through committee in some cases. And in turn, you have to get all your estimations done before you can move forward on that. Even, you know, with the reduced cost of the chargers and the rebates available currently to your company, there could still be a little hesitation there as far as, wow, I don't know if we actually have that extra money in our funds this year to be able to make that happen. And so ChargePoint wants to give you the opportunity to make that decision a little bit quicker. We're all familiar with software as a service, and that's essentially an affordable way to have a subscription for a program that services your company's needs. And it helps you get on board quickly with the software and be able to utilize that and make your company run better. This is a similar program. So essentially what you have is an opportunity to choose a 1-year, 3-year, or 5-year term for leasing these chargers. And again, it's for every charger that you put on the property. There's no limits to the number that you can put in. It's based on per port. So most of our chargers are more efficient if you put in a dual port charger because you're running power to one charger body, and it splits off to 2 charging ports. So you can service 2 vehicles at that point. So ideally, you would want to put in dual port chargers, but each port has a set fee based on a 1-year, a 3-year, or a 5-year term. And so what that does is it allows you to take it from a capital expenditure program and make it into an operating expense. So now you turn it over into a monthly service fee. And as the host of the charger, what your obligation is to make the site ready for the charger. So that, again, is the infrastructure. You're going to consult with your electrician. You're going to have the power brought to the location where you think the charger should be. They're going to make the power available there and stub it up just so that the charger can be mounted at that point. The ChargePoint contractor will take it from there. ChargePoint will send out their own contractor that will then bring the charger, mount it, power it up, and make it network ready at that point in time. So they do everything for you. And on top of it, the charger is going to be monitored 24/7. That means that takes you out of the need to maintain the charger. They'll be able to see over the air the status of the charger. They'll be able to see if there's any operational issues. If there is, whether it's been damaged or vandalized, ChargePoint will send their contractor out, and their guarantee is they'll have it back up and running within 24 hours based on parts availability. In most cases, all the standard parts are there ready to go with the contractor. And so that takes that issue away too. You don't have to assign somebody in your organization to have to check in on those chargers and monitor the use of them. So that's a great program. And again, it's going to bring down the cost. Just to give you an idea, on average, if you go into a 5-year term on this lease, you're paying on average about $120 a month per port. So with those rebates, with this leasing program, it makes this program pretty much the opportunity to start becoming profitable from the first couple months that you install it, because your operating costs are going to be way down.
So do the rebates apply to the leasing program as well?
They do. So you can combine the rebates. Essentially, the utilities are saying you're paying for it. How you pay for it is, up to you. If you have an arrangement that you're going to finance it a different way, that's fine, but you're still incurring the cost. The rebates do require that you do keep the charger for a 5-year period of time. So you're going to go into that 5-year term, which again is the most affordable term for you to be in. And at the end of 5 years, what's going to happen is it's going to be assumed that those chargers are still operational. There's not a lot that can change on them except the software, and the software will be updated over the air on a regular basis, because there's going to be new vehicles and there's going to be software changes that's going to happen with those vehicles. And ChargePoint, their team will keep that software up to date to keep it compatible with every vehicle that comes to market. So it's a great opportunity. We can talk to you about that, or you can visit chargepoint.com and they will have some more information on there for you too. So here we are at the end of the presentation, and we wanted to kind of motivate you to consider why you would want to move forward at this time with adding EV charging to your property. Some of the most important things is that there's other large groups that are making sizable investments in the industry right now. The state of Michigan is the #1 group. The automobile industry, GM, Ford, Fiat, Chrysler, they're all bringing products to market along with the foreign manufacturers of automotive vehicles. They're all coming to market. They're in the pipeline right now. If you haven't seen a lot of them recently, you're going to start seeing a lot more of them very quickly. DT Energy is offering this generous rebate called Charging Forward. Again, it's going to be for a limited time, so it's not going to be out there forever. It's based on the length of time and the number of incentives that are available. When they're gone, they're gone. So you don't want to wait too long to make a decision on that. On top of it, it's even a sweeter deal with the federal tax incentive of up to $30,000 in tax credits. So again, on top of the rebates and the affordable cost, now you're going to get the opportunity to take up to 30% of your total cost off your taxes. ChargePoint as a service leasing option is going to make it even more affordable. It's going to be a turnkey solution. Again, you're going to qualify for the rebate as long as you maintain the charger for a period of 5 years. Some of that rebate money can be very helpful in covering the installation costs for you. The EV charging service can offer revenue and profits for your business. And it's not always easy to find an option to expand your business. Sometimes it can be very costly. It can take years of investment, research and development, the investment in the equipment and the people to get a new division up and going. This is very simple. It's very quick. The market is growing rapidly. It's going to be one of those opportunities that you're going to look back a year from now and say, geez, why didn't we do it sooner? With all the cost reduction through these programs, again, within a couple months, you're going to be able to make this a profitable business for your organization. And so that's pretty much about it for us. Did you guys have any more questions?
Yeah, there's a couple questions I'm going to ask for the people online. First, are all EV chargers compatible with every electric vehicle?
They are. And that was a little confusing in the beginning. You probably have heard of the references to beta VHS back in the tape days. What happened was the automobile manufacturers, some of them moved out on their own and wanted to develop their own system, kind of the Apple model where they have proprietary products that only fit on their vehicles. So Tesla did that. They knew that to be successful in selling their product, they had to show that they could support their vehicles out in the country. So they started building a large network of charging systems that only the Tesla vehicle could use. The other manufacturers, such as GM and Nissan, who were also some of the first out there with EVs, they said, we can't compete with that. We can't go out and create an infrastructure Not yet. It's just, we're not ready for that. We don't have the sales to support that. So that's where a company like ChargePoint stepped up and said, we can create that for you. We have a charging system. It's universal. Your customers will get a introduction card in the glove box when they buy their vehicle. It'll introduce them to the charging service, how to locate it, give them a card that they can register online. And they were instantly in the business of being able to get that customer on the road, get them enjoying their vehicle and feeling confident that they had a lot of options for charging. So today what's happened is, even though Tesla led the pack and had their own proprietary charging system, each Tesla comes with an adapter that will fit these general charging systems that are out here. The Society of Automotive Engineers have created the design for the charge plug, and it's now universally accepted.
Great. Next question I have is, can any electrical contractor install an EV charger?
As of today, they can. Early on, there was a lot of training involved, making the contractors aware of what the charger's capabilities were, making sure that the power at the site could match up and could meet the needs of that charger. And so early on, there was a lot of unknowns, and it wasn't recommended that any electrical contractor just attempt to take on a project like this. But now with ChargePoint, they have training programs right online. There's installation instructions, spec sheets, everything that both the contractor and the project management group would need to be able to estimate the needs for putting in the charger, both by power and cost. And so a lot of electrical contractors now can start off doing this and feel pretty confident in making this a part of their business.
Great. Just a couple more questions. With the ChargePoint leasing program, what happens when the lease is up?
So at the end of the lease, whether you choose a 1-year, 3-year, or 5-year, as I mentioned, in order to qualify for the DT charging forward rebate, you do need to select a 5-year. But at the end of either of those terms, if you do a 1-year, a 3-year, or 5-year, at the end of that term, the ChargePoint contractor will come and remove the charger and take it away, and that site is permanently prepped for another charger. Should you decide at a later time you want to re-add them there, or do whatever option is available at that time, of course, that's your property to make that decision with.
Okay, great. Another question. They said you spoke of an EV showroom earlier. What was the source to view this? Is there a source to view the EV showroom?
Yes.
What the?
Charge
You
point.
view that?
Oh, what was the difference of the vehicles?
Oh, I thought they were asking the source.
Oh, the source of that. Thank you. I'm sorry, it's hard to hear with your mask on. Yes, the source of that information was put together with ChargePoint. Of course, it comes from different organizations like Inside EV. If you're interested in seeing what vehicle brands are the most popular selling, you can go to these sites and they will show you quarter to quarter, month to month, which vehicles are currently selling the most of. It's pretty eye-opening, because we had a question earlier about whether Michigan is the leader in electric vehicle manufacturing. And so, as you can imagine, with Tesla, every time they introduce a new vehicle, especially recently with the Model 3, the affordability gets into a larger demographic or consumer group. And people are excited because now they can afford those vehicles. And so the sales are quite high in the Tesla marketplace. But GM and the other brands are catching up. GM has had very successful launches with the Chevy Volt and the Chevy Bolt, and now the full line of Cadillacs that are coming out in the other EVs. So we think that affordability is obviously what drives the consumer right now. And a lot of times these vehicles were out of their reach, but not anymore. Now that you can find vehicles that are in the mid-30s, and the tax incentives are still out there on most of these vehicles. GM has used up their $7,500 tax credit, as also is Tesla. But all the other brands, Ford, Chrysler, Nissan, and so forth, they still have them available. So if you're looking at a $35,000 or $37,000 vehicle, You can also assume that you're going to be able to take $7,500 of a federal tax credit for that vehicle. So now it brings it down into the 30,000 mark. And so that makes it very affordable for most customers.
Great. Two more questions. Someone would like to know if they can find a list of manufacturers of charging stations.
They can. You can. It's very confusing because I do it myself. I'll Google EV charging products. You'll see some old products that'll come up that are currently not still available in the market. As I mentioned, when we did the project here at Automation Alley, we were replacing a first generation brand charger. What happened is a manufacturer was no longer in business and it was no longer being supported, so the charger itself was not operational. And so those brands have disappeared too. The best source that I would recommend is visit your local utility. For example, with the DTE Charging Forward program, there's only a couple brands of chargers that are sponsored or endorsed by DTE for this program. And the reason for that is they had to have certain network capabilities. DTE also wanted to see the activity on these chargers. So by qualifying for these rebates, they're getting to see what type of activity you're having, how many people are using the chargers, how much power is being consumed. They can also, if it's a residential customer, entice you to charge off-peak, which is an even better opportunity for DTE to service you at a lower cost.
Okay, we have a couple more questions coming in. Who manufactures the physical charging station equipment?
So the physical equipment is actually manufactured by ChargePoint for our brand. ChargePoint does outsource just a few parts on the body itself, but the electronics, the software, they are all handled by ChargePoint themselves.
Okay, great. Last question we have, what jobs can EV charging companies produce and what education level is needed for these jobs?
What job can EV charging?
Yeah, what jobs can EV charging companies produce?
So the EV charging industry, being that it is new, it is a technology that there's not a lot of education programs currently available. What I saw myself as I came up into the industry, it was leaning heavy towards an engineering degree. And so at that point, you needed to be an electrical engineer, but there was a lot of other skills that needed to be added in order to qualify in. So if you were going to work for a company like ChargePoint, you would need to be a software specialist, an electrical engineer that could, again, look at different components of the chargers. Can they be built better, safer? And the environment that the consumer is using the chargers is always the #1 concern. The vehicle and the charger do communicate back together. So there's a collaboration there between the companies that build the chargers and the manufacturers of the vehicles too, because they have to have certain protocols of software that communicate back and forth with each other. And again, most are designed to keep the EV owner and consumer safe while using the charger. But I think what's going to happen is we're at the beginning, even though we're a decade into this new phase, we've now got buy-in from not only the utilities, but the state, but the federal government has been very active with this program for the last decade. Department of Energy has put out a lot of funding out there to sponsor the adoption of EVs. And they know that one of the best ways to have EVs recognized is to make people aware that there's charging available in the community. When people see those chargers, they're going to go, oh, yeah, look at that. There's a couple chargers here. There's a couple more over there. And a lot of times you don't even notice that you're there. But if you go on the app or if you go on Google Maps and put in EV charging, you'll be surprised to find the abundance of charging that's currently out in the community. But you're not going to be aware if you don't have a need for it. So it's going to be somewhat of a consumer education process along the way. The more confident the consumer is in knowing that if they do buy an electric vehicle, they have a lot of options to charge, not only at home, but while they travel. And especially if they travel outside the range of their electric vehicle, they're going to be able to feel confident that they can pull in for a quick charge with a DC fast charge. As Lori mentioned, you can put 150 or 200 miles back on within an hour. that's time for lunch. You know, take a lunch break, come back out, and you've almost totally recharged the vehicle. So you're up and going. And so it's meeting that compatibility of of same time or less time that it takes for you to fuel your car with gasoline. It now can be done in that period of time with some of the fast charging. Good. Great. Well, thank you. We want to thank everybody for joining us today. Lori and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And again, as we talked about at the beginning, Automation Alley is an outstanding organization to work with, very supportive to all the companies in Michigan, whether you're a startup or a multinational. Automation Alley has always facilitated the opportunity to introduce companies to new clients, new markets, and to bring us all together to share our technology so that we can all grow in the marketplace together. So thank you again, Automation Alley. We appreciate your time. And thank you for those that joined us live streaming. What's that?
Thank you, Steve, for that. As Steve said, and also thank you for the viewers watching today. We hope you tune in next week for the Tech Takeover on real-time supply chain visibility with Industry 4.0 technology with SICK. Just a reminder that this event and all of our Tech Takeovers are archived on our website for your view later. And again, thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.